So after watching this week's episode of Vivi, with 2 episodes left to go, I see one of 2 outcomes happening with episode 13. One, they find a way to defeat the archive fast enough that humans don't retaliate and somehow things can sort of be mended and repaired. Or B, which I think is going to be a very likely solution, since everything did start with Vivi, I feel like there's going to be, the data will be transferred back. We learned how Matsumoto went back, essentially putting a conscious AI back in the past through data. I feel like they have to kill Vivi in the past, because then the archive will never be able to use anything like that, right? I mean, it feels like ultimately Vivi has to die for the world to be okay, because by seemingly the archive used Vivi's song in order to corrupt all the AI who have connected to said archive. And I think the reason being is that because an AI has never created her own song, she's just performed, right? So the fact that an AI broke free and did something so human-like, I think was the catalyst and the starting point for everything to hit the fan, even though Vivi had no intention to do so. The archive being, I think, the final boss makes total sense. I saw quite a few people, especially last week and just over multiple weeks, say, like, you know, something's gonna happen with the archive that needs to be took down, and honestly, what a better endgame, right? I mean, this is absolutely everything we want to see, and I don't know where they're really gonna go. Because even if they did go the direction of, like, killing, say, Vivi before anything happened, I don't think that's really the option, because most likely they would probably speedrun all the points, just Vivi either A, has to die before she makes the song, or B, she never has to make the song to begin with. Like, maybe they'll go the direction of, rather than just killing Vivi, stopping her from, like, ever writing the song and maybe disabling the archive soon enough. But if they actually find a way to stop it and keep this current timeline active, I would be perfectly fine with that. I think it'd be a very fun twist for something that I think a lot of people have been, like, speculating. It's going to be another loop in order to stop it. I mean, they're building up to exactly as such. Dr. Matsumoto was building up to that, and originally in the first timeline, he died starting the Singularity Project. But here, Vivi and Cube Matsumoto were the ones to stop it before he ended up having to die. Seeing the difference of just, like, what's happened in the timeline, the fact that, like, currently, with, you know, Toke and everything like that, they're literally talking about this plan, but this plan's been in motion for 100 of years for our characters. And to see Elizabeth pop back up, I mean, it's not exactly the same one. It's her memories from before everything that we saw in the timeline. It was stored, recovered the body, and seeing, you know, just how feisty she is without going full-on crazy like we originally fought her with, and seeing the granddaughter of a man who's been so relevant in this show for so long, and to see the difference in opinion of being like, you know, from what history would say, he was trying to destroy AI kind and make sure that they never had the same rights. But when you watch that video, it's a very genuine, compassionate one. And I really think that's due to Vivi's interference over every single arc, and how his perception of things definitely was twisted by the actions of an AI who he initially wanted to push back against. And it's nice how everything is coming together, and you can definitely feel like this is a very well-paced show. It's not one of those anime originals that are just rushing into that endgame the last 2 to 3 episodes. We've been building up through every single point of the Singularity Project, and it feels like when we wrap up episode 13, whether it's completely bittersweet or somehow a happy-go-lucky one, I mean, it's going to feel well-earned. It'll be interesting, like I said, if somehow this timeline gets to survive as is. There's a lot of casualties. I mean, this episode kicks off with, like, the first 5 minutes being some of the most brutal shit we see in this show. You have photos of just kids, you know, with these teddy bears and, you know, just AIs and humans working in harmony. And as soon as that countdown hits 0, they all completely explode. Cars hitting, flames going on. There's this one shot where this one AI is singing on a stage as there's just dead bodies in the crowd as the fire is engulfing the scene. It's completely heartbreaking, especially because, I mean, for Matsumoto, he says it best. He was in sleep mode for like 15 years. He woke up simply to see the fruits of their labor because seemingly it all worked out. And who would have thought that Vivi, overcoming her fears of not knowing what it means to put your heart into it, would be the catalyst and the starting point for the archive to spread it like wildfire and destroy everything. I did have some questions about how the song was going to be used in order to cause this, because seemingly that's what did it. and Vivi would have never done so. So was it a freak accident? Which I was going to be a little disappointed with if that was the direction. So the archive being something with a pure desire to destroy humankind, using what she created in such a vile way, it makes it a lot more engaging and just continues to keep this show in a 10 out of 10 category, both on the visual and written department. I mean, this just felt like, in a lot of ways, if this was any other studio and authors working on this would have been the second to last episode, and then next week would have just felt like it was too fast-paced, no time to slow it down. But with episodes 12 and 13 to work with, I really would be shocked if they messed up the landing for its final stretch here. And seriously, I mean, clearly episode 12 will be probably fighting the archive most likely, maybe some other aspects sprinkled in. But I wouldn't be shocked if episode 13 is defeating archive, figuring out what to do and why to do it, and then restarting the Singularity Project, maybe either A, preventing her from ever singing, maybe changing her entire reason for being an AI, something like that, or simply killing her. I think, hope it anyway, that rather than full-on killing Vivi, what they'll end up doing is they'll hopefully have a better course of action of, like, fixing all the previous points and just stopping her from ever making that song. Or maybe the solution is to simply destroy the archive before shit like this happens, or change the archive way back in the past. That could be another situation that could work out really well. Either way, it's just like, no matter what happened, there's been some sacrifice and there's been some heartache, and if somehow everything else gets corrected, Vivi's probably going to end up dead, and if Vivi gets to live, there's going to keep the sacrifice. That's kind of feel like what we're building up to. But I mean, after last week having just such an arguably really peaceful episode, despite being pretty sad watching her just trapped in a museum after fighting for AIs to be treated as human, to ending with that after the credit scene last week, just showing everything going up in flames, seeing it in this week's episode with the time to really soak it in, it's night and day and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I mean, I think there's definitely some fun moments, like seeing both Matsumotos respond identical with their shocked overreaction. It's nice to finally have a human face, not just, you know, an eyeball on a cube kind of like reacting and growing. Just the number of times that you really feel like they definitely were one and the same, and the bickery, the way their minds work, you really understand where he got his charisma and personality from. And it's nice to even have some of the comments like Dr. Matsumoto saying like, wait, you knew I started the Singularity Project since the very beginning. It's nice that Vivi wasn't clueless to what was happening this entire time. She just built up a natural connection with the doctor, and it was really sweet to see the fruits of their labor, even if it did ultimately end up in a pretty much identical situation of what they were trying to change, right? Incredible stuff. I mean, 2 episodes left to go. Vivi is an anime classic in the making. It's anime original done right, and it's going to be interesting to see where what studio will finish this and where they'll go with future endeavors after seeing how good this one turned out. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and where do you think the endgame is going to go for Vivi, and how scared are you? Because I can definitely say I'm scared of seeing where it's going to head on towards. But I guess we'll see where it goes. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.